Hello everybody and welcome to a special 2-year anniversary episode. I cannot believe it's been 2 years since I've started this YouTube channel. We got a little bit to go over about discussing what's coming up in the future, and of course we'll take a look back at our past year. So hit that subscribe button and stay tuned, because we're coming right back at you, as always. All right, everybody, well, welcome back. Thank you very much for sticking with us for the last 2 years of this channel. If you're relatively new to this channel, then thank you very much for watching the videos, watching this video specifically. So if you're new to the channel and you just happen to come across this video, I'll tell you a little bit about what we do here. We're about cars and technology and how those two intertwine to make a life that we are used to on a daily basis, the technology that we have in vehicles, and that goes directly into the future of vehicles, especially EVs. And on this channel, we are dedicated to not only cars and maintenance of those vehicles, as I have my pit stop videos that you probably see from time to time. We also talk about EVs and the lifestyle changes that EVs require because of a different type of fueling method and the time that it takes to do so. We also talk about renewable energy resources like solar. Like I have solar on my house, and we talked about that almost at the very beginning of this channel almost 2 years ago. And that is what this channel is about. It's about the lifestyle change of going into the future, about renewable resources, electric vehicles, the trips that we have to make with these electric vehicles and how it differs from driving just a normal gas vehicle. That is what this channel is all about. It kind of brings that to you and all the products that go along with that, whether it be just EV chargers, adapters, things like that, that we go over and discuss in details about the differences between the lifestyle between a gas car and an EV, and what that means for now and what that means going into the future. But anyway, let's take a look back at our past year. Now, we have taken a few road trips this past year. One to Kentucky, which was actually in our Corvette, which was a really awesome time we had. We actually spent a lot of time in Kentucky for Camaro Fest, and then of course we got to see the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which was fantastic. It was the first time I'd ever been in Kentucky, let alone to Bowling Green, which is, you know, the home of the Corvette, which is really, really awesome to see. We had a really cool time of, you know, taking our Corvette out there and having a good road trip with it, long weekend. Getting to see a lot of other really awesome cars. Even though it was for Camaro Fest, it was still a fantastic show to sit there. I'm a big Camaro enthusiast myself, and so this was kind of a really cool thing to see for the first time and go to this show. Of course, shortly after that show, we had actually taken another road trip, this time going from our home here in South Carolina all the way up to New Jersey. But we didn't do it in just a normal gas car. We did this in a EV. But not just any EV, we did this in a Hyundai Ioniq with a 28 kilowatt hour battery. Now, if you're not sure what that means, basically it's a small battery. It's a lot smaller than most cars EVs come with nowadays. And we were able to make that 700-mile trip from here in South Carolina all the way up to New Jersey using public charging infrastructure, primarily Electrify America. And we made that trip both there and back successfully without any problems whatsoever, and the Hyundai performed significantly well, much better than I actually anticipated as far as its range and efficiency. So that was a really awesome trip, and that was kind of the thing for me. Before I bought an EV, I had started this channel and I was looking into buying an EV, and when I finally bought a used EV, it was the Ioniq, being that it was a relatively cheap vehicle. It was, you know, abundant at the time, so I was able to pick one up relatively cheap as our first EV. Thinking about going on a really long road trip with that short range of an EV seemed ridiculous for our first EV, our first road trip in an EV. And that was something that we really didn't anticipate how well it was going to go. And honestly, it was a great experience, and it was a really awesome experience to be able to take that trip and experience the lifestyle of an EV. And yes, it did take a little bit longer for us to get to our destination, but it was still a great time. It was fantastic. We were able to, drive for an hour and a half, 2 hours, stop, charge up, relax, stretch our legs a little bit, get back in the car and do the same thing again. And it was a lot better than trying to drive 4 hours straight, which is what I tried to do on our trip to Kentucky with the Corvette. But unfortunately, you just get tired after driving, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours straight. And I ended up just having to stop every once in a while, even with like half a tank of gas, because it's just too much sometimes being in a car for that long. But we had a fantastic time on that road trip last year. That's when I ended up pre-ordering a Mustang Mach-E. And I finally got that car in January of this year. It was about a 6-month wait for that Mustang Mach-E. And I've now had that car for about 6 months. And I gotta say, I absolutely love it. I'm going to be doing a video probably in the next month or so, a little bit of a 6-month ownership. How do I like it so far? What have I done with it? And pretty much go from there. We also took that one on a road trip already this year. Back in April, we took it out to, the Smoky Mountains. We went out to Tennessee, Pigeon Forge, and we had a fantastic time on that road trip with the Mach-E. And it just goes to show you that having a vehicle that has basically twice the range as the Ioniq, it was great. It was a good experience. We were able to go a little bit further. We were able to stop for about the same amount of time, actually probably a little longer, but at least the distance that we were able to go was a little bit further. So we were able to drive for about 3 hours roughly before having to stop. And so that was a really nice change of pace as far as, the in-between between the Ioniq EV and like a gas car, where you can go for probably 5 or 6 hours without having to stop in a gas car. I enjoyed that very much. I enjoyed that thoroughly, about having the ability to take these long road trips and still be able to do it perfectly fine with public charging infrastructure. And I still get a lot of questions to this day from people who are curious about EVs and don't really know enough about them. When you take them on a road trip and they say, well, how far does the car go? Which, that's one of those questions I dislike so much, is, well, what's your range of your vehicle? When you buy a gas car, you never ask what the range of the vehicle is. You always just say, what's the gas mileage? And then you just assume that that's good or that's not. But with an EV, everybody has the question of, well, how far do you go? And well, about 230 miles is EPA rated range on this Mustang Mach-E. And they're like, well, you can't go very far then. You can't go, out there. And I'm like, well, I just took it to Tennessee. And they're like, well, how do you do that? Public charging infrastructure. And then they start to get into conversation. Well, what is that? What does that do? What do you mean? So what, do you have to stop for like 3 or 4 hours? Well, no, you just stop for about 20, 30 minutes, charge up the car just enough to get to your next charger or your destination, get back in the car and you go. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think, well, you have an EV, you charge it up at home slowly, and then it takes forever, and then you can't go on a road trip very easily because the car is not quick enough to fill up. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed road tripping the Mach-E. And we're going to be doing another trip coming up here this August with the Mustang Mach-E. We're going to be taking it from here in South Carolina all the way up to Virginia. And then from Virginia, we'll be going to the Outer Banks in North Carolina. And that's a really different thing because there's almost no charging infrastructure on the eastern seaboard, really close to the ocean, especially right there by the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So you almost need a vehicle that can get at least 200 to 250 miles of range minimum to be comfortable. So we're going to see how well the Mach-E performs when we leave from Virginia to go to the Outer Banks. And that trip is going to be taking place very soon. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel for that. Another really cool thing is that July is going to basically be our 2 years since we've had solar. So we got solar up and running on the house about the first week of July of 2020. We're excited about how much we saved last year. And of course I have videos about all that stuff. And if you're interested in all the money that I saved in the first year of being a solar customer, you can actually just hit that button right up there to see the most recent video that has a lot of information about how much money I've saved. Was it really worth being a solar customer? So if you have any interest, make sure you take a look at that video. But we're going to be doing a 2-year follow-up. We're going to see exactly how much electricity we have produced over the course of that 2 years and exactly how much money that has saved us over the course of that 2 years. And we're going to take a look at that and we're going to see exactly if it's worth it to go solar. Stay tuned to that video as well sometime in the month of July, or maybe August, depending on when I get to it, because I got a lot of stuff I got to catch up on as far as videos for this channel. Now, another thing that some of you may be aware of is a little over a year ago, I had actually pre-ordered one of these, the Tesla Cybertruck. I was looking for a relatively cheap EV pickup truck because I had a pickup truck a long time ago, no longer have it, and really want to get another one. And for the last few years, I've been looking at gas pickup trucks. Well, now that the EV pickup truck thing is starting to happen, it's only natural for someone like me to go with an EV pickup truck. And the reason I had initially gone with the Tesla Cybertruck was because the price was pretty good. $40,000 was the starting price of the Tesla pickup truck. Well, we don't know if that's going to be the case now because the vehicle has been delayed for quite a few years. It looks like they're no longer going to have the single rear-wheel drive variant of it. It looks like it's going to be at least a dual motor with the 2 motors in it. Because of that, I think the price of the Tesla pickup truck is going to be a little bit higher, or maybe a lot a bit higher, depending, for their base model. So $40,000 may not be what it starts at. And I did order self-driving, full self-driving. I did pre-order that with the vehicle. That was an extra $8,000, which would have put me around $48,000 before, delivery, tax, title, so on and so forth. I don't know if that's going to happen now with all these changes and, of course, the inflation costs. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. But, of course, as you probably know, the F-150 Lightning is starting at $39,999 or $995, whatever it is, $40,000 for the Lightning, which is a fantastic deal. But I'm not too thrilled with the Lightning. I think it's a great truck. I think it looks really nice, but I already have a Mustang Mach-E, so I'd really like to try an EV from a different company. As you know, I have the Hyundai, really like the Hyundai. Now I have the Mach-E. I'm enjoying the Mach-E thoroughly. I wouldn't mind trying a different brand for my third EV. So either Tesla will be great, or I actually just pre-ordered a couple weeks ago the Chevy Silverado EV, which looks really good. And it does have a starting price of $40,000 because they have to compete with everybody else on the market. So the big question here is, I'm not going to get both. Do I get the Tesla Cybertruck or do I get the Chevy Silverado EV? And that's all really going to come down to, number one, price and features. I really like the Tesla Cybertruck, the way it looks, and I know it's very polarizing to a lot of people. You either really like this or you hate it, and I get that. I mean, it is a little bit tough to get used to, but I actually do really like that. Whereas the Silverado EV looks, most closely to just the regular Silverado. It doesn't have a very, outlandish look to it, other than, maybe that 45-degree angle by the bed, and then of course obviously not having a grille up front is a kind of a dead giveaway. But other than that, it looks similar enough to a Silverado, where they're trying to get their Silverado ICE people to the Silverado EV and not try to polarize them with something like this. So I kind of get where Chevy's going with this, but at the same time, with the full self-driving getting a little bit better, and I figured I was going to be waiting a few years as it was from when I first ordered this. So I'm hoping full self-driving gets pretty good by the time that I get this vehicle, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to use that. Really all comes down to price at that point. So it all depends on what the Silverado decides to do as far as options and what do you get for $40,000. They really haven't announced all that too much. So really, what are you going to be getting for $40,000? And then we'll see what I can afford, or at least like better. So if for some reason that Tesla decides to come out with the dual motor for, the $40,000 price point, this might be my choice, or could be the Silverado, depending on how that goes, because I do really like the Silverado. But I want to hear what you think. What do you think you would get if you were looking at a EV pickup truck? Would you go with Tesla Cybertruck? Polarizing look, very interesting, futuristic looking, I guess a lot of people would consider that. Would you go with something a little bit more basic looking, like the Ford F-150 that looks just like an F-150? Or would you go with the Silverado EV that looks very much like a Silverado? So there's a lot of options out there. Of course, you have Rivian out there as well, which Rivian already released their pickup truck. And of course, there's some other ones out there as well. But anyway, whatever you think you would choose, leave that in the comments below. I want to hear what your thought is on that. Like, which do you prefer and why do you prefer it? It's because you just like the brand? Is it because this is just too polarizing for you? Or is it just because you want a pickup truck that has this specific feature in it and that's why you're going with that EV? You choose, you leave it in the comments, you let me know, and I'll be curious to see how many people will prefer one over the other. Well, everybody, before I sign off on this episode, let's take a look back at the past year with everything that we've done and everything that we have accomplished here on Tech Motoring. So let's take a look. Hello, everybody. Well, we have 1 week before we have to leave for Bowling Green, Kentucky. Today we are reviewing this 2014 Camaro. On this episode, we're going to be taking this car right here, the 2017 Hyundai Ioniq EV, and we're going to be taking it on a 700+ mile road trip. Today's episode, we're going to be reviewing this, the Electrify America Home Station Level 2 EV charging station for your garage. And being one of the first people to get my hands on it, and one of the first people to get videos out to you to see this charger in action. I sold my car back in July of 2021. And I actually sold it to Carvana. So we have a road trip video for you today, but this is a different road trip video than we're used to. You see, my neighbor is taking his Cadillac ATS-V, and we are going on a road trip to Atlanta, Georgia, and he is looking into a Genesis G70. All right, here we are at the hotel just outside of Atlanta, Georgia here, and yes, this is snow. It is snowing right now. We just picked up the Genesis, taking it for a quick drive. Gonna get Clayton's first impressions on the car and see how much he likes it. I think he likes it. Today, I'm going to the Ford dealership to pick up my Mustang Mach-E. We are going on a road trip with this car, the 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E. It's our first road trip. So we just hit hands-free mode, which is the first time we've seen this. We were actually on pretty much back roads this whole time. There we go. Now we're starting to ramp up 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. We're past the Ioniq. 120. As the low battery warning comes up on the dashboard because we just hit under 50 miles. Thank you very much again for watching. And remember, welcome to the future.
And welcome to Tech Motoring.
Look at this. We'll see you on the next episode. Well, everybody, there you go. There's 2 years in the book for Tech Motoring. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Make sure that you share this channel with your friends, your family. Just post it where you think people would most likely benefit. You know, I work hard on this channel to try to bring as much information and entertainment to you as I possibly can. So every little bit of support that you can help me with is huge for me. And I thank you very much for all your help. And if you didn't already subscribe, please subscribe to the channel just below. Of course, if you do like the content, make sure that you give it that thumbs up as well. So make sure you hit that like button. I'd like to thank you very much again for watching. Don't forget to check us out on our website, techmotoring.com. We are also on Twitter at techmotoring, facebook.com/techmotoring. And remember, welcome to the future and welcome to Tech Motoring. And here is to year number 3.